The Crow, City of Angels. There are actually a lot of people that I could blame for how this movie was made, why it was made, and how it's as bad as it is. But I want to start this off a little different. I want to actually defend the director, Tim Pope. Not somebody that I'm going to pretend like I know very well or that I know his work very well. But upon reading of the production of this movie, I could not believe how this guy got fucked over so bad and so hard when trying to make this film. It's very possible that he was attempting to make a halfway decent sequel, that he wanted this to live up to how iconic and beloved the first Crow movie is. Well, maybe this sequel could have been its own thing and something worthwhile. Gamerman, why? To find out that the producers at Miramax, the Weinsteins, you can blame the Weinsteins for a whole hell of a lot of things that are, in fact, worse than making this movie. But let's just throw this in the list as well, shall we? The Weinsteins told the editors of this film to rearrange the film, rearrange the footage, and structure the scenes like flashbacks. So the beginning of the movie, when you see our main character and his 8-year-old son get killed by these drug lord gang, it was all originally supposed to be shown as a real sequence that happened in real time. But because the original film had a lot of flashbacks and had a lot of that style flashed in, primarily because of necessity, right? Brandon Lee died while shooting his death scene, so they had no choice but to present that footage in flashback form. Fuck you for just wanting to do it just to copy that movie. That movie didn't even want to do that, but no, you're going to do the sequel and try to present it in a choppy, shitty way for no good reason other than you're just trying to copy the first film. Fuck off on that stance. Also, you screwed this director over. He was probably told and pitched that, hey, you can make your movie, and then to change it after the fact. He's not the first one that this has happened to, and he certainly wasn't the last director that this happened to, but it still sucks, and I still feel for the guy. Also, the writer, David S. Goyer. Now, it might sound hypocritical that I'm going to give the director some slack, that I'm going to give him a pass over how bad this movie is, but yet shit on the writer, David S. Goyer. You could argue that David S. Goyer was hired to write a script, he wrote said script, and then the Weinsteins and the editors still fucked up the movie, and so that has no bearings on his writing and his script. However, I have spent decades with people trying to convince me that David S. Goyer is a good writer. For so long, I've been told he's one of the greatest writers in Hollywood. But anytime I watch a film that he's either directed or written, 9 times out of 10, I think they suck. And I think he's been coasting off of having his name attached to the script for The Dark Knight. He's a co-writer of that script. But anything that he's done on his own, I feel sucks. Even the Blade movie, the first Blade movie he wrote, when you look at the one that he actually directed, the third one, what the hell? The quality drop-off is so hard that I'm just going to blame him for this movie. And that might not sound fair, and I actually admit it may very well not be fair, but fuck him too. So when we start this movie off, I almost forgot until I rewatched it how terrible this piss color yellow tint is on film. I don't know why they thought that was a good thing or why they thought that was a cool look. Maybe it's because it's the 90s and so they thought, well, hey, if we just pour piss all over the cameras, it'll make it look different and cool, right? No, It looks terrible. We get introduced, like I said, to the main character, Ash Corvin, and his 8-year-old son. We see flashes of them being killed by this gang. And that's where we get introduced or reintroduced to Sarah, who has been recast in the second film by Mia Kirshner. And I'm not about to bad talk Mia Kirshner. I actually very much like this actress. I think she's great. I've seen her in quite a few things, and I've always liked her. She's very attractive. I just don't understand why they recasted her. I mean, maybe if the original actress read the script, or just the idea of making a sequel probably pissed off that original actress. I almost want to say I remember an interview where she was upset over this movie being made, so maybe she declined. If that's the case, just leave the character alone. Have Mia Kirshner play a brand new character. That way I don't have to sit there and think about how much she doesn't feel like the same Sarah at all. I know she's supposed to be older, and so you're supposed to maybe forgive that, but I don't completely understand the motivations of this Sarah or why she does the thing that she does. She has these dreams and these visions of the murder that goes on with this Ash character. And then she gets visited by a crow who basically is telling her, hey, come to this site where the murders happen. So she goes there, and what do you know? Ash rises from the river. Now, granted, the actual shot of him coming out of the water and rising in the air is pretty cool. I will give them that. But logically, why does he get resurrected like this? I mean, he's being resurrected. He's a character who has died and is coming back to life. So I'm not going to be hung up on the logic over how much this makes sense. But it just confuses me on if he now has flying abilities. Can he fly? Because he doesn't really do that at any other point. And so Sarah, she sort of tries to take care of him, tries to calm him down, and she explains to him how he died and what happened to him. She also just randomly starts to put face paint on him. She doesn't even really ask. She just does it. And again, she's attractive, so I'm sure Ash is just like, yeah, sure, fine, lady, do whatever you want to me. But the forced nature of trying to make him look like the same crow from the first movie, I just find it very forced. It's not as natural and organic as it was in that original movie. I should probably mention the actor who is playing Ash, the new crow, Vincent Perez. I'm not going to blame this guy. I'm not going to say he's horrible or terrible. This is me being fair, because I feel like he too probably thought this was going to be different, its own thing. And the fact that he's not playing Brandon Lee, right? At least it's a brand new character. You can argue that that's at least different. And the fact that it's not him and his girlfriend being killed once again. No, this is a different scenario of him and his son. So you're trying to have a different dynamic with it. They still don't do enough with it or make that hit on an emotional level as much as it could. Because that first movie, you really feel the emotion of how Brandon Lee feels losing his girlfriend. And I just don't feel like they hit that as well with this guy's son. The one scene where he goes to kill the first henchman, it's very awkward. I don't know why he plays the cards with him to fuck with him at first. It seems like they're trying to give him a personality and they're trying to make him as memorable and stand out like Brandon Lee did, but it ain't happening. This character is not Eric Draven, and it's just not quite working. The 90s music soundtrack, though, I have to give them credit for this. If I am going to say anything positive or the most positive thing about this movie, it's the soundtrack. The soundtrack is great. There are a lot of songs that I kind of listen to and say, damn, if only this was in a better movie, this would slap even harder. It also helps that I'm a total 90s kid, so it definitely plays in an era that I am quite familiar with. The second henchman that the crow kills, holy shit, he's played by Thomas Jane, a very young Thomas Jane, who I'm sure this is one of his earliest roles. And it's a scene where Thomas Jane is in a peeping booth and he's interacting with the girl and he's jerking off, and that's a great sight if I ever wanted to see one. It's kind of cool when the lights go out and then when the lights come back on, the crow is in the place of the girl in the booth, right? But he kind of ruins it when he says, "Do you want me?" I'm like, okay, this is not what I thought the crow would be doing with himself. Of course, he kills him as well. I should mention the drug lord, like the kingpin of the gang, right? The guy who is behind everything that's going on. His name is Judah. He is played by Richard Brooks. And I don't think he's great as well. However, it's another situation where I'm not going to blame the actor. You can argue that I am being way too kind and nice to these actors, but I do. I feel like this guy, in a different environment, in a different script, in a different movie, he could be good. Like, he has a presence to him. He has a look to him. And I think that there is something here. It's just the material is very rough. The scene where he hires a blind prophet to tell him what's going on with this guy killing his gang, and the prophet's able to tell him that this guy is resurrected back from the dead. He's connected to the crow. He's connected to Sarah. I'm like, what the fuck? Huh? Again, I know that the crow, the whole point of it is that it's connected to some weird mystical type stuff, right? Obviously, it's a character being brought back from the dead, but when it seems like they're dipping too much into it, or maybe when other characters are so easily involved in that world, it makes the crow and his situation, his resurrection, less special. It just seems like it's more normal in this environment, and I personally don't care for that. You get another scene where Ash attacks this character, Callie, who is actually played by Thai Trang. She's best known as Trini from the original Power Rangers, the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers. So that was cool to see this actress in something else. I know that she died at a very young age. The scene where he beats the fuck out of her and breaks her leg and then throws her out of a window. He does have a vision where he remembers that she was the one that actually shot the son with the gun, so I guess she deserved it. The part where the blood splatter is in the form of the crow, man, are they trying hard to recreate the moment when he sets the fire and the fire is in the form of the crow. Maybe some other people think that that's dumb as well from the first movie. I think it's cool. But even if you want to say it's far-fetched, it's more believable than just her blood magically turning into a crow shape. Come on, man. What are we doing? Another character that the crow goes after, his name is Curve. There's actually a scene earlier where this character goes into the shop where Sarah works, and he's a complete asshole, a complete piece of shit. He just destroys everything, talks to her like absolute garbage, spits all, like one of the worst characters in this movie. And all Ash does is just chases him on his motorcycle, causes him to crash his bike, and then just sort of leaves him for dead by the river. It's like, what? We don't even see him get brutally killed. This is a character that I want to die in the worst way. And he gets the tamest death, I think, in the entire movie. He's played by Iggy Pop, if that means anything. I will say that acting-wise, he's probably the best out of this gang because he's so horrible. I hated him. Sarah, of course, gets kidnapped by Judah because why not? This wouldn't be a revenge movie if we didn't follow this trope. Judah also captures the crow, the same crow that awoken Ash and is giving him his powers. Because this crow just sort of hangs around and is always involved, it's very goofy and weird. Again, we're dealing with resurrections, we're dealing with crow powers. I know, but Judah capturing the crow and torturing it and just ripping it apart and eventually killing the crow, stabbing it, was so silly to me. This little tiny crow tied up being tortured. What the fuck? How did they not shoot this and probably laugh their asses off over how goofy and how terrible this is. I can't imagine the director thinking to himself, this is going to work. This is going to look great on film. Nobody will laugh this out of the theater. Trust me. And because he's killed the Crow, this makes Ash mortal. He is no longer invincible. He's no longer the killing machine that we know and love. And I guess they're trying to make him vulnerable. They're trying to give him a weakness because otherwise he's this unkillable force, right? So, okay, fine, sure. But then you have Judah drink the Crow's blood. And so doing that, he gets the Crow's powers, I guess? Again, I sound silly, or I feel silly questioning the logic of all of this because the premise is over the top, sure, is unbelievable, but it just seems like they're doing anything and everything to just fucking do, right? Like, it's not something that, for me, makes a lot of sense. It's not something, for me, that holds weight to exactly what's going on. Because, like, why is this working? Why is the blood giving him powers? The whole point is that this is otherworldly, right? The Crow is the one that brought back the Ash character. And if the Crow's dead, then Ash should just die. It just seems as simple as that. So I don't really understand what's going on. And I don't understand why drinking his blood brings him back, like, or makes Judah powerful. Like, huh? What? I failed to mention that all of this is taking place during the Day of the Dead parade, which could be a cool location and a cool scenario for all of this, but because this movie looks like shit and feels even cheaper than the last movie, it seems to just be a big lost waste opportunity. Ash is about to die, of course, but he somehow is revived by visions of his son telling him to fight. Again, this could have had some impact. This could have made me feel something emotionally, but I didn't care about the relationship. I didn't care about the son. I feel bad saying that, but I also can't lie. So during the scuffle, while Judah is whipping Ash in front of everybody, seems awkward, Sarah runs up to him to try to stab him. She does, but because Judah has the Crow powers, it does nothing. He takes the knife out and stabs Sarah. What the fuck? So not only have you completely wasted the Sarah character, not only does it feel like you don't know what to do with this character, she gets killed by Judah. This sucked. It's like you already did a bunch of stuff in this movie that pisses me off. You already did things that I highly disagree with that should be done in a potential sequel, a follow-up, if you're going to do it in the first place. But to kill Sarah off, somebody who was such a integral, important part of the first movie, what a slap to the face of fans of that first film. I mean, she's technically the only character that is back from the last movie, and this is what we do. Fuck off. This, for some reason, causes Ash to finally wake his ass up, get up, and he stabs Judah with a metal pipe. But we established that Judah has the powers, right? So he's okay. And then Ash calls on a bunch of crows to swarm in and eat him alive. So again, I don't understand how he's able to do this. If the crow that gave Ash the powers is dead, then how is he able to call on all these crows to come in like this? This doesn't make any goddamn sense. I don't care what anybody says. I don't care people saying I'm being too harsh. I know there are some defenders of this movie. I know that there are some people who do like this movie or do think it's a worthy sequel. I don't understand it. So much is going on, especially at the end of this, that just feels so lazy and so half-assed, slapped together. This sucks. Sarah officially dies. Oh joy. And you even see that she earlier made a painting of her death. So I guess she has these visions. She foreshadowed her own death. Whatever. Ash now is able to, rest. Happy ending, sure. Fuck off. This is not a happy ending. You killed off Sarah. You killed off all these characters. Ash is going to rest and be back with his son and Sarah. Bullshit. Fuck off. Fuck this movie. Fuck The Crow. I would say it's the worst Crow movie of all time, but they kept making more. And believe me, there is a worse Crow movie that exists. Let me know in the comments below, not only what you think of The Crow, City of Angels, do you agree that this sucks, but do you want me to keep going with The Crow, Wicked Prayer? Thanks for watching. Like, comment, subscribe. See ya!